Hello, welcome back to another video. And in this video, I will be discussing how suffering flourishes and is manufactured in this oppressive hierarchic matrix, especially by capitalism. I know it's a huge topic to discuss, and I'm condensing it within like a few minutes, but it's so important to keep reminding yourselves about how prevalent the hierarchy is and how it's attached to the capitalist matrix, which oppresses people. Like, capitalism isn't a sustainable way of life, and it is depleting resources. But at this point, there are resources, but the resources are being depleted as a means of wasting in order to gain hegemony, in order to gain control over the population. And people don't realize that almost everything that happens under capitalism is creating suffering. And often or not, we do not realize this because we do not want to admit the hard truth that capitalism is like racism. It is everywhere. It's like air. At this point, it's air pollution. And dismantling capitalism means a lot of work and a lot of undoing in order to get rid of the issues that we have today, which are interconnected, but really they are all part of like the bigger picture, which is suffering. And how does one suffer under capitalism? Let's talk about student loans. Student loans, when the government basically allows you to study, but you have to pay back those loans, it is not a sustainable approach. And most often or not, you get into debt. Therefore, like, you are suffering trying to pay back what you owe in order to get a higher education to achieve well in life. And it could be as simple as free education, because knowledge shouldn't be monopolized. And when we go into these institutions such as high school, university, college, like these sort of things really monopolize knowledge, and it's about punishing people like under the capitalist framework. Almost everything is made exploitative under capitalism. Finding a relationship, you know, when you have to get into the expectation of buying rings, doing like fancy weddings, like getting gifts for Valentine's, anniversary, it really puts such a financial pressure. And another thing that people don't really talk about is credit card. How credit card is like an invisible chain that imprisons people, because if you don't know how to control yourself, and it's hard because like the matrix is in tandem with the credit card, so it makes you have to use your credit card, and sooner or later you don't realize the bills are piling up and you are indebted, so therefore you have to work. You're obliged to work. Not really. You are basically forced to work in order to survive. And capitalism really makes people like really hate their so-called dream jobs, because under capitalism work is not fun, work is exploitative, work is degrading, work is hardship. And that is the main point, because like capitalism wastes resources, it monopolizes resources, it wastes money, it monopolizes money, and all this suffering, all this competition of getting a white picket fence house, keeping up with the Joneses, seeing things through a rose tinted lens, has really screwed up people. And men under capitalism have become pawns for the military, the police, as expendable sacrifices, while women, on the other hand, are obliged to get married and be baby producers, or if they don't want to be that Miss Independent, she be a boss under capitalist system, oppressing poor working class people in order to maintain her status quo at the top. Or she is exploited under like model agency, social media, because nothing in this matrix is free unless you go off the mainstream. And all of these things, like from a bottle of water, from medication, to make up, all of these things are attached to capitalism. And it's not as simple as like boycott it. Boycott things that you can realistically do. But in order to do the bigger picture, you have to unearth a lot of things. And given that suffering is a norm, people don't really question, like, why should we not rebel against capitalism, because capitalism really manufactures suffering, it feeds off of it, it thrives on suffering. And people don't realize that, or you need to live by your means, or you need to find like a better job, or you need to stop complaining over small things. Like, it's shit, because like we're living in an oppressive hierarchical matrix hierarchy matrix where we are basically slaves to, like, what the society says. And people who are in a certain class, whether you be a beneficiary or a welfare recipient, or like homeless, has been put into that area because you don't fit the so-called working class, and they are valued for their ethics, when in reality, when you are putting a person beneath you, that is upholding the status quo. And how healthy it is to live in such an oppressive matrix.